Evening. Today is January the 8th. I'd like to call a meeting to order. Would you please stand for the opening prayer and the pledge of allegiance?
Lord, we're meeting here tonight to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being the source of our guidance tonight. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't know you, Brett. Yeah, it's been awesome since I've seen you. Hi, I'm John.
Got it?
Fire when ready.
Roll call, please.
Lorraine,
Present.
Shoemaker. Present. Mathis.
Here.
Krug is present. Kessler.
Here.
Gopel.
Yes.
Tucker.
Present.
To the members of tonight's audience, this program is televised. There's cameras in each corner. And you can see this on Charter Communications on channel 191. It will show, I think the first showing would be on Thursday, and then it goes on for 2 weeks. So if you come up, you can give your name, but you don't have to give your address if you don't want to. But you can see yourself on television on 191 Charter. All right, approval of tonight's agenda. Are there any requests to amend tonight's agenda? I do have one, and it's going to be the hardship. We're going to put that on the next week, so I'd like to exclude that. Is there anybody else?
Do we need to just remove that other one?
I was just going to remove it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I meant
What?
the public hearing one.
The one that we were just talking about? No, we're going to,
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to listen to Amanda on this one.
Okay. Good idea.
Yes. All right, a motion is in order to approve the agenda. No, I removed the hardship. Now I'm going to say a motion is in order to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Included in the packet are your minutes from the December 18th regular meeting. Are there any request corrections to the meeting minutes? All right, the meeting minutes stand approved as presented. Expenditures. Are there any questions regarding any of the expenditures? And we have a lot of them.
I did actually have the one for Michigan Association of,
Broker, 2-year registration.
I looked at the details on, maybe it was Michigan Municipal Risk, I'm sorry.
Michigan. Gee,
Thomas is not here.
No, he's ill, but let me see what I can.
Well, I can
He
follow
brought
up
the
with-
accordion with him.
follow up on, 'cause
Alright.
there was some breakdown, but I still didn't understand it after reading it, so.
GIS, isn't it?
No, that's North Arrow, is the GIS.
Oh,
It's the
okay, I
one
see
just-
what it is.
It's like $57,000, and it looked like prepaid, it had breakdown for prepaid expenses.
That's a class we approved for Tom.
Is that what you're saying?
No, no.
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 No. $57,000.
$57,000. No.
I thought you said Michigan Municipal.
We're not
Yeah, I
buying his
did.
MBA.
It is, it's Michigan Municipal Risk.
Here you are, John.
Risk, so wouldn't it be?
Let's see if this will have to answer your. Thank you, Robert.
Is it insurance risk?
I don't know, that's why I'm asking. Michigan Risk Management, but it's,
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Go in the back. Here, it'll tell us.
no, that's what I looked at though, and it didn't help me. Why don't we just, instead of wasting time here, let me just get back. We'll just hold this one until we figure out what it is that we're doing. Well,
check
somebody
been
else can
cut?
tell me. The check will be in the accordion down there, but we just won't sign it or distribute it till we know what we're doing.
All right, it is an installment, so it's something that.
Yeah, I thought it might have been the pension contributions, but I don't,
You want me to pull it?
OPEB stuff.
Oh, yep.
But I don't know. I mean, the detail that I got just says, part of it is insurance, but the insurance part is only $7, $8, we'll call it $9,000. The rest of it is showing up as prepaid expenses. So that might be OPEB, I don't know. Let's just find out before we
All right,
cut it
now,
loose.
does it say what due date is on that? Would we be late if we held it back for 2 weeks?
First page, Bob, yeah, that one.
No. 125. So we could still do it.
We can still do it next.
Okay, we'll pull it.
They might not like it, but we can still do it.
I had questions about reimbursement for deductibles, but I was gonna ask Tom that, so I'll just do that.
Okay, we're gonna
When he's
pull
back.
this. Is there any other on the expenditures? Now I gotta subtract that.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Just give the number you got, less that one. You
Yeah.
don't have to do the math on the fly.
Even the general ledger numbers are, but they have the same.
All right.
description. That's really strange.
Yeah. Well, I looked at the detail first, so it wasn't like
A motion is in order to approve the expenditures totaling $285,582.48 for payment minus the invoice of $57,307. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mathis,
Yes.
Kessler,
Yes.
Shoemaker.
Yes.
I vote yes. Gopel,
I'll second and yes.
Tucker,
I'll third and yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. This is public hearings. This is the rezoning for R17-007, amendment to PUD conditions, Laring Linden Limited Partnership, parcel 0609-300-036. The address is 4486 Laring Road. This is the first reading of the public hearing for the proposed zoning ordinance amendment to revise the conditions for a previously approved PUD zoning. The proposed amendment would permit both attached and detached residential units rather than detached only. The Planning Commission has conducted a public hearing on this proposed amendment and has recommended approval. Now, if the applicant is here, I'll let him speak, but I do have something that I need my attorney to talk to all of you. We are gonna hear this tonight, but the mailing went out and had some wrong dates on it. So, you wanna explain?
If I may ask a question though first, did the planning commission properly publish and,
That would be John.
did you, there was a public hearing already, the
Yes.
planning commission held it, correct?
That's correct.
And it was properly noticed and
As far as I know,
published and everything?
Valerie does that, but as far as I know.
Because technically, this one is not required. One public hearing is required. It can be done by the township board, or it can be done by the planning commission.
We did have a
It
public
does
hearing.
not have to be done by both.
Yeah.
So, now that I'm sure that the planning commission did hold a public hearing, I believe that we can move forward. Technically, this wouldn't be a public hearing pursuant to the Zoning Enabling Act because the notice wasn't correct. And correct notice would have to be sent with no less than 15 days prior to the hearing.
And there was a typo in that.
Typo error.
However,
But the notice in the paper and on our website are correct.
okay, now that I know that there was a public hearing conducted by the planning commission, I don't have any issue with the first reading tonight.
Okay. Mr. Tucker, you're on that planning commission. Treasurer Tucker, would you give some input on this?
Sure. As you may recall, there's already an existing PUD on this particular property.
Can you hear Mr. Tucker, the audience?
He needs to speak up a little more.
I don't ever get told that. But thank you. All right.
Because he's got a big place, yeah.
As the board probably knows, there's an existing PUD that's approved for this parcel that's already in place, sitting there right now. The current applicant came before the Planning Commission in, let's say, November, and asked for, I believe it was a, is this a 120? I forgot the number now. I looked at it Friday. Asked for more units than what the current approval is for. The current approval was at the maximum allowed based on the open space for the property. So we explained in the first meeting when they were in front of the Planning Commission that, yeah, this is 90. I think they came in at 120 is what I think it was back in November. We explained just the way the math worked under the ordinance. It still uses the open space provision, so you get the density bonus, that sort of thing. So what you have in front of you is really the main gist of the change is to allow both attached and detached units. The existing approval only allows detached units. Now, at the public hearings, and we had a couple of them, we had good participation from the residents on both of them. A lot of the neighbors in the area came to spoke on a number of issues at both of the meetings. Some of it was just basically anti-development in general, concerns about traffic density, trespassing, things of that nature that just come along with, development. However, there are other issues here that were also raised by these residents that are specific to this property and factually true. It's a very challenging site from a stormwater drainage standpoint. And the reality is that the water from the subdivisions to the south of this site all congregate onto that nice little lot that we got back on back taxes. And there's a detention pond on that lot that we own on the south side of Laring Road. And this is the water from the subdivision comes into there, it collects. We heard a number of concerns about that because it's not working well, and that's a true story. The residents raised that as a problem. They believe it was failure in prior approvals and prior monitoring of the other developers to make sure that it was done right. So there's some concern about that with respect to this development because there were problems from before. But that collected water actually runs under Laring onto this site and historically is kind of dumped in the middle of where the horse racetrack is located. So if you were to go out there in spring, we could assess that as waterfront property because it is wet, wet, wet. There is a county drain that goes off the north side of this property. So the water eventually flows there. And I'm looking at Rob's picture right here. You can see the blue area there. That is where they intend to distribute the stormwater drainage from the development. And there is a county drain. You can't tell it from the scale of this drawing, but there's a county drain that goes back through here. So this development actually has the potential for helping to eliminate some of the problems that we're having with drainage now, because they're going to have to change the drainage for this site. It won't work to build houses and have that middle area flooded. So there is some potential benefits for this moving forward, but there are obviously also a challenge to the developer. Developer's aware of it. I saw Cal come in. There he is. He's here. He's aware of these issues. Gassan, I know, has been talking to him. He's got involvement. And Kim, the engineer to the left, I can see the top of his head and glasses. I think that's Kim. Yeah, he's back there. They're all aware of these challenges, if you will, with respect to the drainage on the site. There were a lot of site plan kind of issues brought up at the public meetings. I don't want cars driving by where I can see them through the road. I don't want to be able to see them from my deck. I don't want to be able to see them from my window. Screening for lights, all of that stuff is well down the road from where we're at today. 'Cause what
That's
the-
site plan.
Yeah, it's a site plan, and there's preliminary, and really what that is, a lot of that kind of stuff is final site plan. So it's a few steps removed, but, you know, there are legitimate concerns. A lot of the issues that were raised are real issues that, you know, typically get brought up in that kind of setting. But at the end of the day, what this really is allowing attached units in basically the same layout that we had before. It's not identical, I don't want you to think that, but in the big overview of this, it's essentially the same approval of what's out there now, attached and detached as options.
Is it increasing the number of units?
No, that was the
So
first,
we're
they did
at
ask to do that, and
90 then.
and honestly, if they don't, they still have to do the math for final site plan. The prior applicant believed that they would be able to achieve 90 because it's based on usable land. You can't use the wetlands to count for your bonus density and that sort of thing. We've had some preliminary discussions about that, and Kim has actually called me, sorry I didn't get to you today, but to ask some more about it. But if the math doesn't work, the 90 is a maximum number. So if you don't have enough upland to justify 90 units, it goes down if you don't have usable upland.
But it would have, if they approved it, it would have said 90 is okay as existing.
The existing approval is for 90,
Yeah.
again, subject to the same caveat. If you can't come in and show you get 90 using the density bonus,
Got it,
that number moves down.
okay. All right, I'm going to, is Cal here? Would you like to come and speak, Cal, or any of your representatives? This is Mr. Niemer. You come to the podium right up here. Yeah. Oh, right over there by the plaque. Yeah.
My name is Cal Nimmer. We have been developing those type of units for a long time, since 1985.
All right,
We have about,
I don't mean to,
okay, we have about
There you go.
1,000 of those buildings in Source Creek, Owasso, and Flint Township. It's a good project, and we attract fairly between 60 and above, but we do not require the age requirement, but the market dictates itself to a little bit older people, be retiree more or less. And we were very successful. We like to come to Fenton and try the project here.
all right. Any questions from the board members to Mr. Niemer? Would you like to, we'll open it up to the public, and then if there's some questions, I'll have you answer them, okay?
Stay here.
Yeah, you can go ahead and sit down, and we're gonna open it up to the public, and then if we can't answer, you can answer for us, okay? All right, it's open up to the public. Please come up and state your name. And we have to keep the conversation down. We don't want to repeat it because this meeting can go on forever. So I do put a limit of 5 minutes, but that's a long time,
Okay,
okay?
I can talk fast, Bonnie, you know
Yeah, I
that.
know you can.
All right. What you did not bring up when you were talking about the water, my name is Deborah Schmidt, by the way. You're talking about the water from the retention pond across the street coming over, correct?
Yes.
But you're not talking about the school, who is also draining into Indian Creek from their front basin as well as their back one. Their back one was only supposed to be 3 feet deep. It went to 14 feet deep. And then it went into Indian Creek. I'm a natural water course to Indian Creek. The house below me was built up, the property was built up and built up and built up and has a swale and goes down to Indian Creek as well. This all had to be done. And Bonnie's well aware of this problem.
Yeah, we have no control over a school.
No, I know you
We did all
don't,
that,
but
yeah.
this is excess water
Yeah.
that goes to Indian Creek. Can Indian Creek sustain this, all this water? No, they cannot. My mother was already flooded out to the point that from the school that she could not use her facilities in her own home that she's been in since 1964. We had to have a new engineered septic field put in due to the water that poured onto her from the school. So it cannot carry it. There's no way. Secondly, you were told when we did the new master plan that we wanted a quiet bedroom community. We have seen nothing but development since. How many condos are needed in our area? We have Glendevin. We have the one across from Glendevin that they're adding into. We have Hidden Ridge. We have Golden Circle. We have a senior citizen community called Shiawassee Shores. And then there's a lot more of them in Fenton. Are they all at capacity? Do you know? Or are there vacancies there? What's the price range of these condos gonna be?
What did you say?
What's the price range of the condos gonna be?
Oh, I don't know. Mr. Niemer, what would the price of the condos be?
225 to 300.
225 to 300.
Okay. And they're gonna be how many square feet?
Oh, Debbie,
Each.
I can tell you that. We have to go through. It's a 1,250, right?
Yes, minimum 1250 and
Okay.
quite a bit will be 1,500.
You are talking about 90 gallons of water per person per day. That's the usage. If you check with the health department, that's what they will tell you. So you're putting how many people extra in the area to draw? Are they gonna be on wells? Are they gonna be on city water? What are they gonna be on?
Well, we don't have water.
Right.
It would have to be in wells.
So wells is gonna impact all of us. Odell Road, the one lady there was 4 grains from arsenic poisoning years ago. I had mine tested through Lansing. I was 2 grains from arsenic poisoning. There is natural occurring arsenic in the bedrock, and the more people that you put on this, the more it draws it from the bedrock. And so it's contaminating all of us as well. Not to mention taking our wells down. So what's the purpose of this? What is the necessity of this? That's what I would like to know.
John, do you want to answer that one? Being in the planning commission?
Well, sure, I'll be happy to, but the problem is there's no requirement to
Yeah.
prove necessity. There's no requirement to prove purpose. We have a zoning ordinance. Everybody is entitled to develop their property consistent with the zoning ordinance. You can't stop after your house is done, or my house is done, or somebody else's house is done. Everybody that owns property has a right to develop it consistent with what it's master plan for and
Right,
zone
but
for.
most of it is residential.
Yeah, the whole township
that
is, I
area.
mean, we got a lot of residential out here.
Right.
But there's no requirement that you have a study to determine whether there's any need. There's none of that.
If it impacts other people's health and their health as well, then what about
Well,
that?
Prove it though.
You have to, a lot of the things that you're talking about are things that would be addressed at a final site plan. Now, I
Okay.
will tell you that I don't think the county will look at that drain system upstream of that development. So I don't think there's anything I can do to help you about the issue.
Well, like I was saying to Bonnie before you all got here, you're talking about a site that is downgrade, correct? From Laring Road.
Yes, yeah, oh
Okay.
yeah, clearly.
So you're gonna require pump stations. If the pump stations go out on the sewers, that water and all of the sewage is going to be contaminating all of us. Through
Well-
Indian Creek, through the detention pond.
No, you're not, the storm sewer system is completely different than the drain water
It
system.
would be a gravity feed.
Well, whether it's
Well-
gravity feed or whether it's pressure, I
And
don't,
that is gonna go right into us.
no, the storm sewer water is handled completely differently in a separate system than the drain water.
How can
And
you
the-
guarantee us that this is not going to flood out people with these detention ponds?
Well, that's why we hire engineers and
Yeah.
why the applicant has engineers.
Well, there were engineers on the school property,
Yeah.
rural engineers,
Yeah,
and they did not plan for where excess water would go.
yeah, there's no doubt there was a mistake made. Mr. Flint Engineering, Mr. Carlson here will, that's his job to make sure it doesn't happen. Why it happened at the school?
Also, with Consumers Energy, we have had nothing but power outages and power outages through the years. I've been in my home 40 years. How is consumers going to take care of all of these condos? Because they certainly haven't taken care of us.
Well, they're gonna come off. the
You're
same
talking
things
old
and-
equipment, some that has to come from Alpena to repair us down here.
Yeah, the consumers will have enough units in regards to this. I mean, they do, because they study all our plans, and seeing that this was an approved PUD, that has to be approved, and then you'd have electricity into that. When you're talking about a drain, water, stormwater, sewer, they don't mix at all.
Yeah.
Never does that water run from the stormwater runs into our sewer system at all. So, and I could,
You see it though, Bonnie, all the time.
no.
You do.
I mean, you're seeing stormwater go into our sewer line?
You've seen it on the news many, many times where that does occur.
Well, we'll get somebody out there right now, because we pay for that, the amount of water that goes through that sewer.
And how long before people on Odell and Fairbanks are impacted to the point that we're going to have to be put on sewers?
You're gonna be asked to be put in
Yes.
sewers? No, not for a while, Debbie, not for a while.
Because most of us don't want it. We don't want our city water, we don't want sewers, we don't want paved roads. We bought in that area for a rural atmosphere. We have a horse farm down the road. We want our rural. And so we would appreciate it if you consider our thoughts as well as
Okay,
theirs.
all right. I've been writing them down for you.
Okay,
All right, thank you, Debbie.
thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? This is the time that you gotta speak, this tonight. So please give us your concerns. You really don't wanna talk about it? All right, then we'll move on.
Just so we're clear, the first reading, it doesn't get voted on.
No.
Everybody knows that. It'll be 2 weeks from tonight before there's a vote on it. So if you're wondering, that's why we're moving on.
Yeah, but now I gotta have the applicant. Do you want to speak in regards to what she had said? Or any of you?
Yeah, I'll speak on that briefly. I'm Ghassan Saab.
You gotta come up here, son.
We definitely hear all the concerns of all the neighbors. You know, wouldn't want to make any bad situation worse. You know, our goal would be to improve everything around us. I mean, there's no point in doing something if it's just going to hurt everyone around you. So no one benefits from that. So if of course we'll have engineers involved at the site plan, the layout of the stormwater, sewage, you know, whatever needs to be done, you know, we'll do it to the full extent to make sure it all works. No point in making anything worse.
Are you aware,
Okay.
just out of curiosity, that we have huge amounts of water that come through Indian?
Debbie, now, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when you're asking all these questions, when it comes back for the site plan, when it comes back to Mr. Tucker, Vince, aren't you planning? Or
Zoning
zoning?
Board of Appeals.
ZBA.
Oh, I'm ZBA.
ZBA, okay. That's when the engineer, and when they present the site plan, the engineer does all the water, everything like that. And that's when you really want to question them on that.
Well, we have had, on our property, being a natural water course, we've had water like 8 to 10 foot wide.
Yeah, yeah,
Down there. I mean, this is not a joke, this is for real.
okay. But I don't want you to worry about that. The next meeting, when it comes to the planning commission, that's when they really get into detail. And because this is a PUD, the township has more control of telling the builder what he can do and what he can't do. Yes, sir?
Yeah, my name's Kim Carlson. I'm the engineer for this project. I just wanted to state that we're providing storm detention for this water from across the street, Leering Road. It drains to the north onto our site, and we will provide the necessary detention and meet the requirements of the Genesee County Drain Commission for the restricted outlet going into the Indian drain. Water and sewer, the potable water that people will drink will be coming from wells, and the sanitary sewer system will handle all the sewage from the homes and will be pumped out to the main sewer out in Leering Road. And they're separate sewers altogether. Storm and sanitary are separate. Any other questions, anybody?
Do you know anything about the capacity of that drain, Kim? Have you gotten that far? Typically, they wouldn't get into that stuff at this point, but
Yeah,
have you
no,
looked at it at all?
You talking about the across the street south of Laring
No,
Road?
the county drain, the Indian.
I haven't gotten into that. No, did I contact anybody in that? No, I haven't contacted anybody.
It's
at the
typically
drain
what
commission
they,
yet.
so you know, they don't do the engineering up front because they don't know if they're gonna get approved for the project.
That's right.
So they go through the zoning process to make sure they're gonna get the zoning they want, then they have to come back for site plan. And actually, there's a preliminary site plan that's relatively easy to get, very few items needed. Then when you get to the final site plan, that's when all the engineering dollars get spent. And a lot of the questions that you're asking,
Well, a question too, has it passed PERC? Any of this property,
What's the question?
has it passed PERC?
Oh, PERC is necessary when you do a septic system. I know Dell Road, you probably have a septic system. We're doing a sanitary sewer system, so there's no septic. There's no septic.
As far as for the wells, because you are in between ours.
If the planning commission requires us to do a geohydro study for the wells, we will do it. Yes.
All right, is there any board member that would like to, any questions or anything regards to this? And again, is there any public that wants to talk on this? If not, we're gonna go on.
Thank you.
The second reading of the proposed amendment will be on January the 22nd meeting. That's when we, as a board members, will vote on this. Mr. Niemer, would you want to speak one more time before? Because I didn't let you speak very long.
Good. Really, I have extremely happy customers, and it is a really good project and it will not impact hardly anything traffic, because those people they sleep till 10 o'clock and they go to bed like 6 o'clock. So really, the traffic is not really an issue. And really, I'm extremely delighted to come here and really please lots of people, because lots of happy people I made in the other area. So I'm going to make happy people in Fenton Township. It is a plus, plus, plus.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now remember, the second reading is on the 22nd. We have Chief Bowles in the audience, Fire Department. This is the fourth quarter. Ryan, would you like to come up and give a presentation? And you all have the diagrams in your...
So we have the fourth quarter report for Fenton Township and Tyrone Township. Fourth quarter report for Fenton Township's 178 calls. Of those 178 calls, we had 13 fires, 115 EMS calls, 6 hazardous conditions, 17 service calls, 17 good intent calls, 9 false alarms, and a weather call. And included in them 178 were 9 in Tyrone Township.
9.
We had 6 EMS, 2 hazardous conditions, and 1 weather call. And that was for the fourth quarter. So grand total for the year, we had 734 alarms in the township and in Tyrone Township together. So we had 37 fires, 512 EMS calls, 27 hazardous conditions, 54 service calls, 59 good intent calls, 43 false alarms, and 2 weather calls. And we had 66 total alarms in Tyrone Township. We had 2 fires, 43 EMS calls, 10 hazardous conditions, 3 service calls, 5 good intent calls, 2 false alarms, and a severe weather call. So it's a pretty busy year. We were up 18 calls from last year total. That's about it.
The fire department does a good job, they really do. When you say the severe weather and natural disaster, I think don't people have to register for that and get it into their phone system?
Oh, that's the, what is that we had set up here at the town?
There's...
Code Red.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a great thing though. It can be in the middle of the night and come on your phone and get scared to death.
Well, you get on your cell phone, you get on your home phone. Your home phone, you'll get a recording. It'll ring, it'll pick up, it'll be a recording in your home phone. Your cell phones, you can get a phone call or a text.
Yeah, yeah.
So it alerts you. And it also, as you travel around to other states, if they also have code red, you will also receive the code reds as you're going into those areas.
Absolutely.
And you'll get it for lost children, lost adults. I mean, it's a big service that it's really working good.
For the people in the audience, when Chief was talking about Tyrone Township, we handle a percentage of Tyrone Township's fire calls along with the city of Fenton. And we charge them a fee to go out on the run. And you're the west of 23?
We are the northwest corner of Tyrone Township.
Okay. All right, you're doing a good job.
So, and we usually average about 100 calls a year, so we're down in Tyrone Township this year, which, I mean, they're not having any serious problems, so that's good for them. So, but we're up on Fenton Township side.
Okay.
So.
Any questions to the chief? All right, thank you. Ordinance enforcement, fourth quarter. We do have a new ordinance enforcement officer. His name is Pat Shaw. Pat Shaw was a sheriff deputy for I think 11 years out here, and he retired, and he filled this vacancy. And you probably would know him if you saw him, if he came to your house. He said during the fourth quarter, blight and junk vehicles have been the most popular topic in ordinances. We do get a lot of calls on blight. We do take care of them. Sometimes in the court systems, it takes a while to get a person to really clean up, but we have ticketed them, we have put them in jail, different things. I mean, so we are working very hard to keep the blight problem down. People will see a bunch of cars in a lot. If they have a current license, they're okay. If they don't have the current license, call in, he'll go out and check it. Let's see what else he says. All right, because the township was closed, he didn't get a lot of them. Just for an example, well, I'm not going to say tall grass because we don't have the dog control 1, junk vehicles 3, signs 1, soil erosion, very, very important. Soil erosion, don't not do that. Call county and get that. I'm not sure how much it is, maybe $25 or something, but get that soil erosion and put it in right. Zoning is 3. Then he had site inspections 191. Sign removals, we do have an ordinance in regards to it, but it is hard to pick up all these signs. Then there were 77 of them. So all total, he had a total of 361 calls, and he's doing a good job. All right, are there any committee reports to be made? Okay. Communications, none. Now, Mr. Mueller is not in the audience, and what this is about is rezoning of R-17-003. Charles Mueller, parcel 06-31-400-003. The address is 1636-2 Linden Road. Charlie wants to change the zoning R3 to A. Now this is the second reading, so you've already heard all this. Okay. The rezoning of the amendment to rezone property on Linden Road, which was introduced at the December 18th meeting. Any board discussion? All right. I need a motion to adopt an amendment to zoning ordinance number 594 to rezone parcel 06-31-400-003 from R3 to A as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Shoemaker.
Yes.
Gopel.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mathis.
Yes.
Pardon me. Motion passes.
All right, we have another rezoning. This is R-17-005 Ridgeway White, parcel 06-23-530-026. The address is 14090 Swanee Beach Drive. wants to rezone R3 to ag with conditions. This is the second reading, so the people have already heard this. So we will vote on this tonight. Is there any board discussion in regards to it?
Did you watch the tape, Bonnie? I don't know if
Did I what?
you usually watch the tapes when you're not.
No, I
here.
didn't. I didn't on this one.
You want me to give you
Yeah.
a Reader's Digest of what went on?
Yep,
All
absolutely.
right, well, I'll back up because we already voted on Charlie, but everybody showed up and everybody liked Charlie.
Oh, everybody likes Charlie.
Everybody likes Charlie. And, you know, that circumstance, the reason I raise it is it's just the two are a little bit different in terms of what's going
Yes.
on here.
Yeah.
Charlie's was viewed basically as an extension of existing agriculture. And we know what we're trying to do and what we're talking about in the revisions to the master plan. So that one passed unanimously, recommended, and people said nice things about Charlie. I tried to get a diverse opinion, but that's what we ended up with. So that was it. This one, we had in round numbers 12 people that were at the public hearing.
There's people here.
Yeah, there's probably several of these faces that were here or there. They fell generally into two camps. Okay, there was a group of folks, and it was roughly half of them, that said we would like this ag development with conditions as compared to the X number of houses that could be built on this site, because it's a pretty good large site. So there was a good strong faction that were like this. Farmer White has pared his list down of animals. We got rid of the beefaloes or whatever are bison that were causing trouble before. So I think the Planning Commission as a group was satisfied with the list of proposed animals that could be used. Because this, I mean, to be clear, if this were just a straight ag request to rezone, I don't think it would have been, I think it would have been unanimously recommended against it, because what he's proposing to do for the acreage that he's doing is relatively light usage from an agricultural standpoint. He wants to do orchards, he wants to do a limited number of animals, and he wants to do it on a fairly large site. That said, the other half of the folks that were there were a lot of issues and concerns about the farming nature of the business. And they were the things that you would expect to hear when you put ag next to more dense residential structures. Smells, concerns about animals getting out and damaging property, traffic. You know, there was a lot of things. And again, I think most of them weren't terribly upset about the list that he was proposing, but the factor that really came into play was that because it's conditional zoning, we have to look at the applicant's conditions, and there's no condition that requires any setback of the animals from the residential property. So in theory, under the conditions that are proposed, the animals could be right up to the backyards of the residents.
Cool.
That's in theory. Now, I don't expect Farmer White to do that, but I can't also tell him to change his conditions. That's not the way conditional zoning works. So there were a number of people that were concerned about the proximity of the animals to the property lines, because as you know, there is fairly dense residential development to the north and to the west. There's natural wetland boundaries to the other dimensions. So the real area of concern is the north and the west areas. So, you know, there were concerns about that. I think the vote was 4-2, if I'm remembering, in recommending in favor. I was one of the two that voted no, and as I said last time, the reason I did that is because it didn't have a condition that kept the animals a certain distance away from the residences.
Oh.
And
But you could add that, can't you?
I can't.
Oh, you
That's,
can't?
yeah,
Oh,
I
because
can't.
he didn't do it.
Because he didn't do it. And I don't have a problem with the list of animals that he's proposing. I think it's clearly capable of operating an operation of that scale on that big of a property without being a real hindrance to the neighbors. But there's nothing in the conditions that guarantees we're keeping them away. And that's why that was an issue that was raised by a number of residents. That's why I was one of the two that voted against it. it's a tough decision, because that's what you are doing. You're balancing relatively, I hate to characterize it as small, but relative to the size of a parcel, a relatively non-invasive agricultural use against the potential for a bunch of residential development that would be much more dense, increase more traffic. Now, we also have to keep in mind that there's nothing set in stone with any of our zoning. You know, Ridgeway is coming in asking for ag. He decides to sell next week. Somebody could come back in and ask for the 100 and whatever houses. It's master plan for that. It would probably be rezoned for that. So there's no certainty that that wouldn't happen. But you know, from what we know about Mr. White, it's likely that that won't happen. There's no guarantees, but you know, he's likely to be there for a while. And he's not likely to allow his animals to roam. I don't know if how close he's planning on putting them to the property lines, because we just don't know that. So difficult decision.
That's where you're seeing the notches here, where there's areas that are notched. They've run parallel with the home.
Those are the ones that came in and said, hey, I could have one of the 5 cows reaching over and nibbling grass in my yard. And, or worse, you know, you tend to hear about, you know, the worst case scenario. And yeah, I mean, you can't guarantee people that animals won't escape and won't do something. That's one of the risks.
Is there any other board discussion in regards to it?
Yes, when we discussed, pardon me, last time, because we're in the midst of doing a new master plan, I suggested it might be appropriate when there's a dramatic change that we have a moratorium until we have a new master plan.
Sometimes I think that's a good idea. On something like this, our master plan is still taking us a long time to get it. You know, we've been really working on, the company's working on it and everything, and I'd hate to hold back on somebody's land, because this could be another year that our master plan would be ready. That's just my feelings, Bob, in regards to that. Now, you said he tells us what he wants. Okay. I'm going to ask the attorney. Can I ask him a question and see if he would fence certain areas for certain cows? No?
No.
Do not suggest, it's conditional rezoning.
I can't do it.
You do not give him any conditions that is completely.
And I will tell you that I did give him the opportunity to amend his conditions at the end of the planning commission meeting after all of the discussion, and he chose not to, and that's his choice. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
But he was given that opportunity. But that's where it's got to come from. It's got to
be this.
It's got to come from his side.
Okay.
Any of the changes.
All right. Well, that's the only thing that I see also, is there's homes there, and the cows or chickens or whatever you had on Ridgeway, these people might not want the farm, huh?
Well, I'd just say it's a large piece of property in the amount of livestock that he has. To me, number one, I think Ridgeway's a smart enough man to know that there would be a liability that would come with cows running loose on his property and doing damage to other people's property. I think.
Well, I think they'd be.
You know, semantics, but really seriously, we're talking about 15 pieces of livestock on how many acres, Mr. White?
93.
93 acres.
93.
So each one of those animals would have
I'll
about 15 acres to walk on. I don't think they're going to worry about the houses.
It's 23, but who's counting?
They're 20. Yeah, who's counting?
I still want to know about the donkey.
The donkey.
Mark? No? So, Bob, do you want to, well...
It's just a thought. We're either doing something wrong if we're doing a master plan and then we insert our desires. That's all I'm...
Yeah,
we have a group, we paying a lot of good money. Just a thought. We did that when we were doing the last master plan.
What does the board think of that?
Well, I think Mr. Kruger has a point, but the point is that if it's going to take a year, then if we're going to turn down one, then we are not going to take any of these up.
That right.
So I think that would be a mistake for us. And I understand your point, and not just with this application, but it would be unfair. We would have to
You're
basically
right.
stop taking applications for any rezoning, and I don't think that. I can look to our counsel over there that's reading her phone, but I think
She's looking at the ordinance.
the ordinance,
No, I agree with you on that, I do.
Courts generally disfavor moratoria in general.
yeah, I think we would lose that fight.
While it's a valid concern, and you can't institute a moratorium on the acceptance of these sorts of applications, this one, it wouldn't apply to this particular application because these already applied.
Yes.
You couldn't now say, we're gonna put a moratorium on it. So,
The moratorium would have to be prior to his
Correct.
application,
Yeah.
or any application.
Yeah.
correct.
And I would tell the board this, I mean, from what my involvement with the master plan process and what I know and what I think will happen, there won't be anything in the new master plan that would allow this as a matter of right. The only reason this is here now is because it's conditional and it's relatively small in scale. Because if you're a purist about rezoning, the master plan says medium density residential, so you would say no to this. But the neighbors recognize the issue. We're balancing small scale agricultural with the conditions he's given us against the potential for residential development. And I agree with Vince. I don't think Mr. White would do any of the things that would cause problems, but the difficulty is this runs with the land. Mr. White will be here for a long time, but there will be a point in time when Mr. White will not own this land, and these conditions will be there. So you have to kind of look at it. It's a tough one. I said at the meeting before, it's tough. And the fact that we got a 4-2 vote out of the planning commission, you know, we usually get to some kind of consensus. But the two that voted no, myself and Donna, the issue was that there was no condition relative
Or
to
the
the
fencing
setback.
area. Okay.
That was the issue for me.
The only other thing that came up, Madam Supervisor, in your absence, was the existence of an illegal building disregarding building permits on the property. That came to us from the,
And what was your decision? What?
what's already there.
No, but things
There
can be.
was not. I'm just pointing out what the people had concerns.
That was at the last board meeting. That never entered into the discussion
No,
at the
this
planning
was at
commission
the
level.
board meeting.
But at the last board meeting, it was brought to our attention and I think we knew about it before. I mean, it wasn't, the planning commission wasn't aware of it. We
Well,
just,
it's hard to miss it.
we just dealt with it on the merits of it and didn't dive into that particular issue. So
Okay,
the zoning question's a hard one, in my opinion.
yeah. I'm gonna open it up to public. Eric, you wanna come up and speak? I noticed your hand was raised.
Eric Sloan, 2322 Grove Park. We
I gotta
live,
have you talk a little louder.
how's that?
That's better.
Better. We live on the north side of Grove Park, across the street with the other lots that the property butts up against, that the other neighbor's concerned for animals coming near the property and so forth. If I was owning those properties, yes, I'd have the same concern. What is the setback? Where you can put the fences? And frankly, he was given a chance to amend it in the planning commission meeting and did not. There was also a comment made off to the side, which I heard, was why should I take back property that I already own? Plus we have a building that was built outside of getting permits, zoning that was needed, I guess, or building permit on residential zone property right now. The master plan is residential. And I forgot to bring my notes in, but my understanding is, because counsel for my neighbor pulled the plan, the new plan, and it calls for that property to be residential. I guess I've got a problem with the barnyard across the road. And, you know, animals multiply. And how do we know we're gonna have the 5 cows, the 5 chickens, the 2 goats, and the donkey, and whatever else is on my notes that are still in the car? Got a concern. I got a concern for, I think, the behavior I saw in the planning commission. And that a building was built without regard to the rules of the game in the township, the pulling permits, any zoning he needed, and so forth. I've seen a couple things, and in a short period of time that I've plunged myself into it, and I have concern for the future and what will really happen on that property.
When I was a young girl, and I lived on Lake Fenton, and I lived on Woodhull Landing, everybody had horses. We had open fields in the back. I mean, each person had land in the back. And you had your stalls and everything for the horses. And to this day, they still have horses. But it depends on how a person maintains a farm or whatever you're doing. You know, if you control the manure, then that's okay. But when it comes to animals, the only one that I wouldn't want, and I know I'm not supposed to say this, is cows. Cow manure stinks terrible. So I wouldn't do that to my neighbors. You know, I wouldn't. But as far as chickens go, goats, and that's another thing, John. The people on Grove Park that had their chickens taken away and their goats, the reason why they can't get it is they don't have enough land for egg, right?
Well, it's not zoned.
It's not zoned, so if anybody asks, well, if he's gonna get it, no, they're two different subjects.
This is the way you'd have to go about it if you wanted to get approval.
Yeah.
That would, I don't think you even get a use variance for that.
Do you have anything else, Eric? Or is
No,
there anyone
those
else that
are,
would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. You can come up.
Hi, my name is Jolie Wambeck and I live at 2349 Grove Park. I'm the second lot from the entry off of Grove Park and bring on the animals. My backyard butts right up to that property. I don't care. The only thing I really don't want is snakes. The other things, and those are already there. And I think that this young man has common sense enough to do the right thing. So that's my opinion. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other comment? Any more comments from the board?
The only thing I think I should say that I didn't talk too much is that I will tell you there's a dispute between us and the applicant about whether right to farm applies to this property that's sitting there today. Okay, we've had discussions with their lawyers, okay, and if we do rezone to ag, we do open the right to farm implications, okay? So once you open that door, you have a hard time closing it, right? And again, he's gonna do all the things that right to farm require him to do, Mr. White will, but just so everybody's aware of it, the issue about whether right to farm applies or not will swing with this zoning decision. So just know that. And I don't think that cuts one way or the other, but I think it needed to be verbalized.
All right. So this is second reading, we vote on it. Oh my God, I didn't think about it long enough.
You want the royal coin?
Yeah.
It's a tough one. It's difficult.
All right. Oh, Mr. White, would you like to come and speak?
Sure, I can.
Okay.
Ridgeway White, reside in Fenton, nearby the proposed farm property. Purchased this property a little over a year ago. It's 93 acres. Purchased it from Mr. Swanebeck, who named Swanee Beach. Family owned the property for 123 years and operated a farm for a number of years of that. And up until the time that I purchased it, was put under a farming set-aside program, receiving even dollars from the USDA. As you know, I came before you over a year ago talking about my intentions to have a farm here, to operate a small orchard and family farm. Not really thinking about conditions and things like that at the present time. I have no intention of putting animals, but to buy a piece of property and limit it to really restrictive uses and giving up 123 homes, I didn't feel was the prudent thing to do. So that's why I've listed some conditions that do allow animals. If for some reason I ever had to move from the community, it wouldn't be for a sole purpose. Did operate came before you. I pulled back and sent a formal letter to the board rescinding my rezoning classification a year ago under the Right to Farm Act, and I think you've seen letters from the USDA identifying track number and things like that, and didn't hear anything, and that's why under the Michigan Right to Farm I did construct a pole barn that doesn't require to build a permit under farming agriculture. Here today, though, to be a peacemaker and presented a proposal that I think hopefully is acceptable to most. As I said before, I don't know about putting up setbacks for the fences and things like that. Haven't put any fences in right now. My guess is that most of the neighbors along Grove Park wouldn't really enjoy a fence right now because I think they do take some liberties on lawn mowing and things. Not all, but some. And but appreciate the neighbors I have. Did construct this barn in the most limited sight line that I could decide on the property so that nobody would see it, and plan to plant some more larger trees around it so that it's completely shielded from view. But got my bobcat with my tree spade now, so when the ground unthaws, I can do some tree moving. Anyways, just family farm is the plan, and appreciate your favorable consideration of this. I think it's if I were a neighbor of this, which I am, I'd rather have the land as it is with a few trees on it and maybe some animals at some point in the future than 123 homes.
Yeah.
And to note the access, the two access pieces actually go into the people's driveways that are there. There's a 25-degree radius. So this is designed for, grand ledge entranceway for a big subdivision. Is the way it's drawn up on those accesses. So people are going to lose 25 feet of their yards if it goes the other way. So, anyways, thank you for hearing.
Is there any other comment? Any comments from the board members? Any others? All right, I'm going to call for a vote.
She's getting
Too quiet.
She's getting
We'll come back on this one, wouldn't it? Rezoning R17005 Ridgeway White, parcel 0623 530026. The address is 14090 Swanee Beach Drive. He wants R3 2A with conditions. This is the second reading of the proposed rezoning amendment to rezone this property, which was introduced on December the 18th. I'm going to ask one more time for discussion. The only thing that I have to say is I do agree with the fencing, and I know we can't do it, but you don't put all the animals in one big pen. Your chickens will be in a different area, whatever. So that if you think your chickens are going to be running over between their houses, no. But that's where I can see Ridgeway, where they're upset, where the animals could come along the side of the house. I mean, I can see that. But I can also see, I have a group of people over here that are complaining about condos, detached, attached. So many of them, 90 of them. And your property, you could do that. And that would be a nightmare because Grove Park has the launch site there. And during the summer months, you can't even get on that road. So it's a difficult one. It's a real difficult one to do. Okay. Any other board discussion? A motion to adopt an amendment to zoning ordinance 594 to rezone parcel 0623530026 from R3 to A with conditions. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Anybody second it? You're kidding me. All right. Second it? You're not gonna second it?
I'm gonna vote no. You want me to second it or no?
No, all right. I need a second. No one wants to say that. I'm gonna have to say second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mathis.
Thanks.
That's the order, kiddo.
I'm gonna have to, Ridgeway, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna have to say no because of the fencing. Otherwise, I would accept it. All
Kessler.
right.
No.
Gopel.
No.
Tucker.
No.
Lorraine.
Yes.
I vote no. Shoemaker.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, now, I have a question. If Ridgeway comes back and he gives us a site plan of fencing, that means that he volunteers to do that, and so he shows us where the chickens go and this donkey and wherever it goes, would it be able to be heard again?
Not here, you gotta start back.
Back to the planning commission.
Planning commission, you
Okay.
have another public hearing. That was the issue that was holding up the 2 planning commissioners, a number of the residents. I mean, but, you know, that didn't placate all of them. And then there was a group of them that wanted this in lieu of development. So it would be an interesting discussion, but I would guess that it would probably come back probably with a better chance of approval at the board level with that. Well, I don't need to guess. I guarantee you it would have a better shot of getting approved here and down at the planning commission with that kind of condition. But I would never tell him to do that because I can't make him do conditions.
No. It's just a person talking that chickens should be in a certain spot.
Well, I have a
And
question for
cows in another.
Does Mr. White have the ability under the current zoning right now, if he wants to go up to 129 houses, he can just start putting and putting?
No, so it's still required.
Site plan.
Site plan.
But it would,
Zoned properly.
it's zoned
He wouldn't
properly.
need a rezoning, no.
So basically,
He could just present it, sure.
Yes, he wouldn't, right now, to do what he wants to do, he needs a rezoning in addition to whatever else.
right. But if he went in front of the planning commission is zoned properly, so he could develop. So this board voted to,
Put in the houses.
yeah, we just voted to put in
It's already said that.
129 houses. That's
How
just
would you do such
ridiculous.
thing?
And it has, and it.
We did no such thing. That's our zone.
Our sewer fund is going broke. I think it'd be wonderful.
What?
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 129 houses. I think it'd be awesome. Because our sewer fund's struggling. So I'd be all for it before I say it's a bad thing, any development in this township.
Okay.
Before we go down that road. Here's the deal.
Have you seen the area you're talking
I
about?
know
You'd like to see
exactly.
129 houses in there?
I know exactly.
Are you kidding me?
I know exactly the area we're talking about.
We would have 400 people sitting in this room.
I know exactly what we're talking about. Here's what we're talking about. Fact is people are asking for a few things. I don't think it's too accommodating. I think talk to somebody that built a barn without a permit. That doesn't seem much remorse. Okay, if I was a resident standing there, here would be my concern. You don't follow the rules. You don't follow the rules. Okay, so how are you gonna follow the rules with the chickens and the dogs and the cats or whatever else? I would love to do it. I think it's great. Take anything back to ag. To me, what he wants to do, it's his property. I really don't care. My vote is strictly the fact he built the barn, you didn't have a permit for it. There's no remorse for it right now.
But that's not what we voted on. That has nothing
We
to
voted
do with your vote.
We voted to rezone something.
That's
on
right.
condition.
This has nothing to do with the
On
barn.
conditions, Vince. I don't
Can I
care.
have a point of order? Why are we discussing this?
Yeah, why are we discussing the vote?
An item, the vote's been had, let's move along.
All right.
We can
We've
carry
already
on these
voted.
discussions with ourselves not violating the Open
Okay.
Meetings Act.
We already made, all right, board discussion motion,
Yeah, we're all set there. Next would be the containers.
the containers with, is our fire chief, okay. All right, donation of shipping containers for Fenton Township Fire Department. Chief Bowles, would you please explain, and gentlemen, you have pictures of these. Go ahead, Chief Bowles.
We've been looking for some sort of a training facility for 25 firefighters to train on. Being we stopped doing the training in homes, vacant homes that people wanted burnt down, tore down, because of the emissions of the smoke and everything else that it polluted the air, so on and so forth. So it came up, we were approached by TIDI. They have 3 shipping containers out at their property they've donated to us. And if anybody's been on shippingcontainers.com or anything you want to do, you can go and look at these. There's hundreds of thousands of things you can do with these containers. Out in California, they're building houses out of them. But what we want to do is build our training facility, because number one, it's fire rated, and it's going to be a low cost to get it to where we need to have a training facility. It's going to be better for our firefighters as far as we don't see as many structure fires as per se the big city of Flint does. We don't, our people are more apt to have a medical than a fire. And with this training facility, we can better them at their interior attacks, their search and rescues. Our confined space team can rappel off of it. There's many things we can do with these modules.
Yeah, that's what
So the biggest thing was getting the cost and where we were going to put it at. And I looked at the fact of putting it behind Station 1 because it's more accessible, and going with it back there into the tree line where the dumpsters are at right now. So that's pretty much the skinny.
That's what your plan is, behind 1?
And then it would be painted the same color as the station, so it'd blend with the station. It'd be brown.
Did you look at the DPW building site at all?
We did, with the DPW sites ever so slowly filling up.
Yeah.
And it's
the DPW.
It's the accessibility of it. I mean, I would even go and pull the confined space simulator out of there and put it with this, just because we have more access to it. We would use it more. To travel and go to the DPW to work on it. It's just I get it. It's between both stations. That's why we did it there. We were there once a year. That's all anybody uses it. So
I'm just thinking more to get it out of the eyesight more than anything. If it's behind 1, it's pretty visible.
There's quite an area. They were looking at the DPW, but DPW land is pretty full right now.
Really?
If you go back in there, they have the bins for all the gravel. Then they have the gasoline tanks. Then they have the trucks are all parked in the back, and it's taken up quite a bit.
Only there was a lot next to it.
Pardon me?
So if only there was a lot next to it.
Well, there is.
Oh, okay.
Always.
And just for the
I know you did.
I told John to say this. John, I brought up the exact same.
Did you?
Police and fire meeting.
And so what is the recommendation of the police and fire committee? What do they say?
They probably said take the donation, but
Take the donation is what we said.
Take the donation.
Sure.
where we
All
put it
right,
is a
now,
different
I do
thing.
have a question. I'm in favor of it. There's no doubt about it. I'm in favor of it. But we had a lawsuit about pods, remember?
No.
Yeah, we did.
No, I don't remember.
No, it wasn't. That was a sightline issue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they took us in on, because of that construction, and we said no.
That was on the water though, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Two different, so we could do it. Okay.
But, and just for full disclosure, I will give the chief my opinion, but I'm gonna let him be the chief, and I think I've always been that way. It's
Yeah.
your show, run the show, so I'm not going to tell him where, or the board isn't gonna tell him where to put it.
He already went and looked at different sites, yeah.
We hired him to do this stuff, so I'm gonna let the final decision fall.
Oh, absolutely.
As far as the containers, yes, I'm for the.
And I think, again, it's accessibility. I think it's gonna get used more.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be an eyesore? Being
No.
in the fire service for 30 years, kids drive by and see the firefighters out there training, they're like, man, that's cool, I wanna watch them.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think-
it'll be in view of the residents, I get that. But their residents will know we're training, and we know we're trying to keep them safe, and that's the whole objective of the whole thing.
What is it going to cost the township?
Is there any cost?
Nothing.
I have Woody's Towing are gonna move the containers for free.
Okay.
The containers are given to us for free.
What about making the fire?
So now we need to look at, we need to have some concrete poured, we need to have some footings and some pecs put in.
Will this be out of the training budget?
It'll be out of the, strictly out of the fire budget.
How much things gonna cost to set them up and to have them the way you want?
Probably, well, I was trying to do some wild numbers today, just with the price of concrete and everything else. We'd need some metal steps welded up and built, which we have a facility right here in in the township that does that stuff. We could start at probably around 30,000 to get some concrete poured and get these things put up and get them painted, get some electrical to them.
You think that expensive, 30,000?
Well, we have to follow certain guidelines with this stuff when we put it in for all the safety features and everything else. I mean, you go out and buy one of these things, they're gonna cost you, $180,000.
Absolutely right. Yes.
So
which style, if you were going to do it?
well, we're kind of on this style here, but I think because we're gonna build the tower, so this front one here will stand right straight up in the air, and then it'll have 3 floors in it. So that way we can. Because we're supposed to practice bailouts. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we're supposed to do.
We need
3
something
floors
like
plus
this.
the top. So
The top will be just the roof. That's it.
Oh, so not 4 floors.
Right.
You mentioned that earlier in the meeting upstairs.
Well, you have the ground floor, then you have the first, second, and third floor. So the container's 40 feet long, so you'll have 10
So
foot.
it'll be 4 stories.
Correct.
Okay. One being ground level.
Yes.
What's the current value, Chief, of the, like if they were gonna donate 3 of these, what could we sell them for?
They're about $3,500 a piece.
Okay. I have no problem with it. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good training thing for our fire department and other fire departments. Ryan, if you...
It could be used by the sheriff's department for breaching doors. They could use it for their drug teams to search floors for drugs.
Yes.
It's going to have multi-purposes to it. Also, we don't have anything like this in our area between Fenton, Linden, and Argentine. I mean, it's a training module for everybody to come.
You're right.
And now that we're on the MAVIS program, everybody's supposed to train multiple times a year.
Yes.
And it gives us a facility where we can do it and actually, do it safely.
All right. I need a motion to accept the donation of 3 shipping containers from TIDI Products, LLC, to be used by the Fenton Township Fire Department. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Who moved that?
Tucker.
Okay, Lorraine,
Yes.
Mathis,
Yes.
Kessler,
Yes.
Gopel,
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
I vote yes. Shoemaker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Good job, Ryan. Now we get going on.
Thank you very much.
All right, proposed summer tax collection agreement. Linden, Fenton, Genesee Intermediate School Districts have received requests again this year to collect a portion of the local school district taxes in the summer tax property bills. Agreements have been prepared to formalize these agreements with Linden, Fenton Schools, and GISD. The agreements are identical to the agreements executed in 2017. Do I have any board discussion in regards to this?
Dollar amounts are the same as in 2017. I agree with the rates 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes, you did, yeah.
I don't remember exactly when they were. I asked Tom when these came, before they were on the agenda, the costs gone up, are we covering our costs? And
Yes.
he assured me that we're covering our costs at the current rate, so I don't want to be jacking them every year, every other year maybe, but not every year. The one is lower, and there's a reason that's lower, and I wish I could tell you the Genesee Intermediate rate is lower. And I asked Tom about it at the time. There's a very rational explanation for it. I just can't tell you what it
He
is.
told us last year, remember?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we couldn't-
I don't remember what it is, but I know there's a reason why it goes out with some of the other mailings already, something along those lines. But I think it's fine to hold them where they're at.
Okay. All right, I'm going to call for 3 motions. First motion to approve the 2018 summer tax collection agreement with Linden Community Schools as presented.
So moved. Support.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Gopel,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Mathis.
Yes.
I vote yes. Shoemaker.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, I need another motion to approve the 2018 summer tax collection agreement with Fenton area schools as presented.
So moved. Support.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Kessler.
Yes.
I vote yes. Shoemaker.
Yes.
Pardon me. Lorraine.
Yes.
Mathis.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Gopel.
Yes.
Motion passes.
The last motion is to, motion to approve the 2018 summer tax collection agreement with Genesee Intermediate School District as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Gopel.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Shoemaker.
Yes.
Mathis.
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Motion passes.
All right. We need to schedule a public hearing for the 2018 local road improvements. And this is keeping in the practices of Township Board. We would like to schedule this hearing on January 22nd meeting. This hearing will give the board an opportunity to obtain citizens' input regarding potential local roads improvement projects prior to making any final decisions. This is important. I wish the people would turn out and express their feelings in regards to these roads. I need a motion to schedule a public hearing for January 22nd, 2018 to obtain citizens' input regarding potential local road improvements projects in 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Okay, guys. Who made the motion?
I did.
Tucker, second.
Okay, you messed me up by going the other way. I
We're just
understand.
seeing if you're paying attention down here.
Okay. Kessler.
Yes.
Gopel.
Yes.
I vote yes. Shoemaker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Mathis.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. You have a letter in front of you from Ed.
Ed.
Yeah, Ed, in regards to, yes, a purchase agreement for a piece of property on Clover Knoll Drive. It's a vacant lot. And the offer did I see somewhere it was 8,900?
Yeah.
8,900. What are your wishes, gentlemen?
Sell it.
Sell it. I do. I agree.
I say we go back at 10 now.
Yep. That's
Make a
Ed's,
counter.
that's Ed's recommendation also.
Okay.
Well, understand, he didn't use the form that I used, so when you see $8,900,
You got stuff coming out of there.
you got stuff coming out of there.
Right.
So the form that I use is the dollar that's in there is the dollar we put in our pocket.
Yes.
Okay, so his note is, he sent a little note to me that the guy wanted a warranty deed and he wanted us to pay for title insurance.
No.
I mean, we'll pay for title insurance, but the price is increased by that same amount, so.
Yeah.
So I would go back at 10 net. If he wants a warranty deed, I don't care if he wants a warranty deed. But we end up with 10 in our pocket at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I agree, John.
That's what I would do.
All
I'm
right.
talking about smaller numbers, but it's a building site. He's a developer. If he can't put 10 into a lot, I don't know.
Instead of 8,900,
Yeah.
plus Ed's, we hired Ed to do the job, and that's his recommendation, so I don't think we should go
So,
against it.
do we have to give him a letter? Or how do we go about this?
Just tell Ed.
Just tell Ed.
Tell him to counter at 10 net.
Counter at 10. and-
10, okay.
Net. So that's important.
And that's what we're agreeing on. Okay. Are there any other comments from the board members? Public comment on agenda and non-agenda items? Gary? You can go there, yeah.
I'll make it quick because I know we all want to go home watch the national championship. 0-0 at the end of 0-0 at the end of the first, near the end of the first.
Doing pretty good.
Reader Digest version, master plan. How long has the new one been worked on? What's the process? Is there an outside contractor that's holding up? Why don't we get it done? And why not a
Oh, it's a long,
moratorium?
we have to have public hearings and, yeah.
Okay.
They're producing the material from the public hearings, so.
Okay.
It's where we expect it to be, it just takes longer than you think.
Yeah.
Hired a great company, did a lot of research on it.
They've
Okay.
already had a
Oh, the
public.
process is
All
good.
right, so public hearings are done and they're working on something.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And I think I heard a year.
Yeah, it'll probably be done sometime this calendar year, I'm not sure.
Really? Okay, I'm just a businessman. I'm just a businessman that gets things done. So I you know, want to hear hearings done over, someone's drafting, doing whatever they, it's like, seems like. Okay, well,
Yeah.
maybe,
A new company, a different company than the one that.
okay. How long has it been worked on?
We started really seriously in the fall.
Yeah.
October, I think.
Oh, okay, all right. So we just started.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Okay,
about a
all right.
full
And
month.
we had to search for stakeholders to
Got it.
come in for our meeting. Valerie had a hard time
Yeah.
getting a hold of people that would do that. Then they've had the public
right.
hearing,
All right,
so
okay, well,
it's going.
maybe a moratorium would be good in the short term. Maybe take it under consideration.
All right.
I agree with you. I fought for the master plan. I didn't want any changes until we did it. The problem is, I think we get sued. And maybe I'm wrong, but I guarantee you, we would have 10 lawsuits against us. Because if somebody came in and said, I want to file for a change, and we didn't, and again, I'll refer to council, but I think we would just be bogged down with litigation.
Well, pay a couple overtime
We can
dollars
do what
to
we
get.
just did. We can just vote them all down. If
Okay.
that's what we want to do. I
I
think
got
that's a better route to go.
I got it, but your contractor, pay him a little overtime, get it done.
All right. There's no other comments. Sir, do you have a comment?
No, he's our
Police officer.
officer.
Oh, I didn't recognize him.
Here for you, Brian.
He's there for
He's
you.
here to protect us. I hope he is anyway.
Can I ask your
From Bonnie.
Can I ask your name?
My name is Kurt Harrington.
Okay, Kurt, how are you? Yeah, I thought so, but then I thought, I haven't seen him. So, what are you
He's our
gonna do?
new detective sergeant. Here.
Okay, good. Well, I'll be seeing you.
It's football game.
It's football game.
Oh, I know, and I did good. I'm going to say good evening, the meeting's
And
adjourned.
One of the best.
We haven't missed any scoring.
Are we adjourned?
Yeah, we're probably.